Welcome back, party people. Now in this video we're diving into what we can do to help us getting to sleep, and as an added benefit we'll be reducing our stress as well. A win-win situation. Now this one is a little longer, this video, but that's just because it's full of juicy details, so try and stay with us to the end. Now firstly, one of the most powerful things we can do in terms of our sleep is utilizing the power of ritual. This is where a lot of research is focusing on at the moment, which is looking at how we can use ritual to control things when we feel things are a bit out of our control. See, if we use our time to focus on things that are out of our control, like the uncertainty of the times or news or media, then we will feel out of our control. But if we focus on things that are within our control, we'll feel like we have a little bit more control and safety and security around things, which is what we want. And one thing we can control is our ritual or our evening routine. It's also quite effective in reducing anxiety and boosting our moods during the day. So if you have a morning routine or certain rituals that you do each day, particularly during these uncertain times, that can really help. But importantly, in terms of our sleep, a nighttime ritual is absolutely going to help if getting to sleep is something you struggle with. Most of us are go on Facebook, looking at emails, right up until it's bedtime. This just isn't going to work. We need some wind down time that tells our brain that we're moving from daytime to sleep time. Now these may seem kind of silly or trivial, but the power of these kinds of rituals for inducing sleep is where the money is. So for example, for myself, about 30 minutes before I go to bed, I turn off all the overhead lights in every room. I leave my bedside lamp on, that stays on, and then I obviously go through the motions of teeth brushing and pajamas, etc. Then I remake my bed. Seems silly, but this is a little cue for me that it's time for bed. I put my phone on charge on the floor, away from my bed, and I don't touch it again. Then I lie in bed and I read for about 15 minutes, a physical book. I then put lotion on my hands that smells really nice and yummy. I do this mindfully, really smelling and feeling my hands. Smell is an incredibly powerful trigger for not only how we feel, but also in ritual, like the smell of coffee or toast in the morning, the smell of gentle lavender lotion or something you like can be very transporting. If it's not lotion, you can have a nice herbal tea if that resonates. And the same goes for touch, in fact, so a little hand or self-foot massage can really help. Right, then I'm done with that. I meditate and then I sleep. I do this every damn night without fail. The research suggests that these kind of rituals can be powerfully sleep conferring. And we can harness this science to make us feel a little more control and trick our brains into thinking, oh, and then after I do that ritual, I go to sleep, which is what we want. It increases our body's sense of safety and predictability, and therefore also really helps lower our anxiety at night. So give it a go. Secondly, notice how I put my phone away. Now, the thing with phones isn't just that, screen time and bright lights affecting your sleep, but even more important is the psychological impact. On the other end of that phone is endless anxiety-provoking content that can really impact our states of mind. We need to regulate how much anxiety-provoking material we're looking at right before bed. Watching the news or scrolling social media is going to spike our stress and anxiety, and right before bed, that'll be putting a stop on our sleep triggers. So phone away, on silent. We really need to be all or nothing with this. And even make a time, like after 8:30, that phone gets put away. Set an alarm if you like. Now this can sometimes make us feel like we're missing out on something. It gives you this kind of FOMO. But we must recognize that news streams and media, they all stream 24 hours, and so does social media. So you likely won't be missing out on anything major before the morning arises. It likely won't change much if we disconnect a little earlier in the name of good sleep. Try to substitute this phone time in the evening with something else. We know from research that it's easier to replace a habit with something than to eradicate it completely. So grab a book, do something simple like crafting or journaling, or just listen to some relaxing music. Do something you enjoy. Grabbing a physical book, something that's stuck on your shelf just begging to be read, is a much healthier routine to incorporate into your sleep ritual. Now, there are a few sleep hygiene hacks we can use that I'd like to dive into briefly here. We have a ton more on our free sleep course online if you're interested, but let's get down and dirty right here and now to see what can help. Firstly is one you probably know about, and that's reducing our light exposure at night, like turn the overhead lights off before bed, reduce screen time, etc., because we know these kinds of harsher blue lights really impact the release of melatonin for sleep. Like, did you know reading on your iPad 1 hour before bed has shown to decrease melatonin production by 50%? That's a 50% drop in your sleep signal for bed. Further to this, the peak in melatonin comes 2 to 3 hours later, so you're shifting your entire sleep cycle later into the night. And these effects are also long lasting, so it can take up to 2 to 3 days for the effects to settle after removing the device from your nighttime routine where you still have trouble with sleep. So we need to extricate this technology from our bedtime routine. It's just a no-brainer. The other thing is, people often talk about getting too much light at night, but what a lot of people don't realize is that we're a dark-deprived and a light-deprived society. Our brains actually need to get enough light during the day to optimize our sleep rhythm and our hormones. We need to turn that on switch all the way up and the off switch all the way down in order to regain our natural rhythm for sleep. Exposure to light or sunshine during the day actually reduces our stress or cortisol levels too. And daylight sunlight exposure also increases the production of serotonin in our bodies, which is needed to make melatonin, our sleep hormone. So if we want to get a good night's sleep, make sure you're getting some good light exposure in the day. Sitting in our dim office or home lighting isn't going to cut it, I'm afraid. Even if it's cloudy, get outside if you can, even if it means getting onto your balcony with your morning coffee or sitting right by your window facing the light to do some work. I would recommend getting at least 30 minutes of light exposure every day. Now, equally as important as light is temperature. We need to be cold at night to fall asleep. This is because our bodies undergo a process called thermoregulation and changes in body temperature in a rhythm-like fashion throughout the day. A cold room is needed to drag you into the right thermal direction for sleep. Hunter-gatherers didn't have alarms, and they would use the cooling of the land following sunset and the rising temperatures before dawn as thermal triggers for their bodies to know when to wake up and when to sleep. We know that if we manipulate our core body temperatures at night, that we are able to induce sleep faster and increase the amount of deep sleep. It's a pretty neat trick, this kind of thermal manipulation. The ideal temperature for your bedroom is actually much colder than you would expect. In fact, 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit or 15 to 19 degrees Celsius. I know, right? It sounds like the Arctic, but believe me, this works. The other interesting thing to try is that heating our bodies up with hot bath or a shower or sauna at night actually shunts our blood away from our core to the skin and peripheries as our bodies tries to cool down. You get hot and sweaty, which has the surprising effect of cooling our core body temperature down once we're done. So if you'd like to try having a nice little hot shower or a bath right before bed, this can really help cool down your core for sleep. Once again, this is backed by the research, so maybe give it a go and see if it works for you. It's also a really nice way to relax before bed. Now, this is for those of you who stay pretty busy all day, very productive, and find that the second your head hits the pillow, your brain starts thinking up a storm. I know I'm definitely a culprit here. The fact is, we are constantly on reception in this life, taking everything in, and the only time our brain goes from reception to reflection is when our head hits the pillow, and that's the last time we should be ruminating, worrying, and problem solving. And so this is important. We can learn to set aside time during the day to reflect on problems or stresses so that we don't end up ruminating about them for the first time when we get to bed. This can be during our lunch, or while we're sitting on the toilet, or during exercise, or another quiet time of the day. Giving ourselves even a short mental break during the day can really help us to let things go, reduce our stress, and ease into sleep later at night. Our brains need time to process and reflect. You can actively tell yourself to let these things go and reassure yourself that nothing catastrophic will happen overnight if you don't solve all of your problems right there and then. But for some of us, just telling ourselves not to think of things may seem almost impossible, right? Now, this is where meditation comes in and can be hugely effective as a form of relaxation therapy. It is quite possibly the most effective and powerful tool you could use to help combat your stress. I know, I harp on a lot about meditation, but when it comes to sleep, this one is a game changer. Research shows that meditation helps us fall asleep faster, wake up less often at night, sleep longer overall, and have improved sleep cycles. It is used as a tool to give us some empowerment over managing the chaos going on in our minds, leaving you in a more quiet, introspective state. Look, it's not as easy and desirable as just popping a sleeping pill. You actually have to sit down and do the meditative work. However, the changes are long-lasting with a myriad of behavioral and molecular benefits to your brain and your body. Believe me, it's worth it. Lastly, if you're having trouble with getting to sleep, many of us have a little more flexibility with our work schedule the next day. So give yourself a little bit more time in the morning to sleep in. It's a little extra sleep to help us stay well in mind and body, and of course optimize our immune function. So prioritizing and allowing us a little more time to sleep in and get that emotional first day that I like to describe is really important at the moment, and it's a great way to be looking after our health. So that's it on sleep and stress, my friends. Thank you for sticking with us to the end. I really hope it helps. Let us know in the comments under this video what weird and wonderful sleep routines you've conjured up, any tips or things that have worked for you, and of course, how this goes, your strengths, your struggles. We want to know, so please leave a comment below. Thank you for being here with me. Stay mindful of yourself, stay mindful of others. I'll see you soon.